What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're gonna check out the Marshall JVM410H. That's a lot of H's. Let's do it! Guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, why am I so dark in that camera? What the hell is going on there? If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take awesome high gain amps, overdrives, guitars, cabs, speakers, pickups, and have an absolute meltdown on camera apparently. I record them with the simple SM57 setup, and I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into East Standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that for some reason are talking like they have molasses in their mouth, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks. All right guys, so today we are checking out the current flagship amplifier from Marshall. This is the JVM410H. So this is the amp that Marshall really has been touting as their flagship amplifier for almost 20 years now. This thing came out in the early 2000s. It was their answer to a lot of the technologically superior amplifiers of the time. And honestly, Marshall really did a great job at bringing their amps technology-wise into the modern era with all of the features that they packed into this thing. This thing has all sorts of modern amenities such as multiple effects loops. It's got a MIDI programmable foot switch that comes with the amplifier. It's got 4 different channels, 3 modes per channel. You could literally spend hours on this amp dialing in completely different tones and programming them all to the foot switch that comes with it, and really spend time just getting every single tone that you could possibly want out of a Marshall. This thing really is Marshall's amp for the gigging musician, somebody who needs all sorts of different tones on the fly, but they want all of their tones in the Marshall territory. They want to get them from a Marshall amp. Well, this thing has all of that. It's supposed to cover basically every era of Marshall, from the JTM 45 all the way up into the most modern of Marshall's offerings, which of course the JVM kind of has its own modern signature voicing, so it even goes past the JCM 2000 series. There really is a lot of different tones and features packed into this amp. Now, we're not going to explore the features because that's not what we do here. What we do is we dial in and check out awesome high gain tones and a little bit of the crunch stuff. So we're gonna start on the crunch channel. We're just gonna go completely by those cleans because we don't like weak music for weak people. And in case you didn't get the message on the way in, this channel is aimed at people who like thrash metal and hardcore tones. So if you don't like those things, I'm sure I will hear about it down in the comments because you chose to watch anyways and still yell at me even though I told you what this was. It's like telling a girl you want a one night stand and then she asks you when you're thinking about moving in on the second date. It just doesn't make any sense. So anyways, that intro clip, I was using my Gallagher Typhon with the Seymour Duncan distortion pickup in the bridge. We were going through a vintage 30 loaded Schecter Hellraiser cab. As with all of my amp demo videos, we record with an SM57 directly on a vintage 30. So even though some people don't tend to love Marshalls on vintage 30s, just keep in mind that that's how I demo all my amps so that you guys can kind of compare them back to back, with the amp really being the main difference. We also had a Boss SD1 overdrive on out in front because a Boss SD1 and a Marshall is the perfect marriage for high gain tones, and it's pretty much the classic pairing for the thrash metal stuff. So we're gonna turn that boost off. I'm actually going to switch over to a guitar with a PAF style pickup for the crunch tones just to make things a little bit more accurate, but we've got a lot of stuff to go through here, so I don't wanna spend too much time talking. All right guys, so I have a 2013 Les Paul Traditional here now with a WCR Godwood bridge pickup. It's like a hot PAF style pickup. It is a very good sounding pickup. We are gonna go over to the crunch channel on this amplifier. We're gonna go to the green mode on the crunch channel. I'm gonna start with everything dialed in at noon, including the presence and the resonance. And we're gonna take that gain back down to 9 o'clock, and let's see how this sounds with no boost out front. It's basically a clean tone at this point, very thin, not super pleasant. Let's go ahead and push that gain up to noon and try to get into that crunch territory right away. Still very much a clean tone. We're gonna push that gain up because we want distortion just a little bit. Basically no saturation whatsoever on this channel. We are gonna just go ahead and push it right into the orange because again, I want some overdrive. Let's back that gain down. All right, we still have no saturation. Let's go ahead and push it up a little more. Okay, so now we're starting to get there. It's a little bit on the warm side though. Let's go ahead and push it up even higher. And it darkens the amp up a little bit. So if you're going for that edge of breakup type thing, this is probably gonna be where you're gonna wanna be at on the amplifier. Let's get a little bit more middle and treble going. All right, so let's go ahead and go over to the red mode. All right, so we're starting to get some breakup finally. Let's get that gain up to noon. Okay, now we're in AC/DC territory. All right, so yeah, we got that kind of light hard rock breakup style, plexi style breakup style. Overall, I don't feel like much adjustment needs made for the types of tones that this channel is meant for. And finally, with the gain all the way up. But that's all the time that we have for that channel because we are here for the belligerent amateur thrash metal tones. So I'm gonna go over to OD1. We are going to put all of the EQ settings over here at noon. We're gonna dial that gain back to 9 o'clock. We're gonna go over to the green setting on OD1 and I'm gonna push that presence back to noon, and here is what we have. Not very much volume. Let's go ahead and kick that gain right up and let's see what kind of crunchy distortion we get out of this channel. Very light overdrive there, and it doesn't really sound very natural to my ears. It's got almost kind of a weird digital sound to it. Not a huge fan of the green mode on this channel. The top end just has a weird kind of blanket over the speakers once you start pushing the gain whatsoever on the JVM, in my personal opinion. Now that works okay for modern tones because you would expect the top end to be rolled off with the level of compression that's involved, but for the classic tones, it doesn't sound like it's there. There's just something artificial about it to me. Yeah, there's just something about that that distortion. There's a weird frequency that's like missing up top that just makes it sound kind of hollow and empty compared to something like my JMP2203 that's in the next room, or especially a Marshall 1959 Super Lead. So not a huge fan of that setting. Again, I haven't spent a lot of time trying to get those tones out of this amp because that's not what I'm here for. So I'm gonna switch guitars back to my Gallagher with that high output pickup, and let's see if that kind of changes things a little bit. All right, I have touched nothing. I just switched guitars. I immediately like that better for my own personal tastes. It's definitely not as warm as the PAF style pickup was, but it seems to have a little bit more bite, a little bit more upper mid grind, and a little bit more top end sizzle. It sounds less artificial with this guitar, so it could have just mainly been the pickups, but I still feel like there's a little something missing. So there's the green setting. We really don't want to spend any time there. Let's just get into the freaking chugs, brother. But for real, let's get into the high gain tones. Just like that on that orange channel, gain at 9 o'clock. I'm already getting tones that I like a lot better than anything else that we have done so far. Let's get that bass up. Let's get that mid up just a bit. Let's pull that mid back because that thinned everything right out. Let's get a little bit of resonance on here. Let's get that gain right up to noon. All right, so we are approaching definitely some more high gain type sounds. Let's get some presence because we are losing a little bit of our top end bite with that gain being pushed up higher. There is an upper mid frequency on this amp that kind of drives me nuts. No matter what cab or guitar that I use with this amp, I've always noticed that there's just kind of a thinness in the upper mids that I can't really get along with. I imagine that that is really nice if you're tuning down, like even D standard, it probably just makes the guitars sit a little better, but here in E standard, I just could never quite get along with it. All right, so that gain really fills the channel out quite a bit. Let's bump up that mid. Let's bump that resonance back down. And let's get a little bit more top end as well. So a good amount of saturation, but on this orange mode on OD1, when you push it this high, I really feel like it just, it farts out the preamp. It makes it sound kind of not that pleasant. But let's go ahead and hit it with an overdrive. Let's hit it with the Deadwell Duality overdrive and see how it takes that. Now we have some low end definition. We have plenty of gain with the gain set at noon. Let's actually pull back that treble in the mid just a bit. I always have a really hard time balancing out the high gain tones on this amp. It really walks the line between being too harsh and too muffled, so that's where I tend to struggle dialing in tones with this thing, but let's play a little bit of a riff and see what you guys think. It definitely does the high gain thing. It's got kind of a modern compression and growl to it, but overall, it's hard to balance out those frequencies to the point where I feel like the amp sounds balanced itself. Just my personal opinion, but let's go over to the red mode. Let's turn off that overdrive. Let's get the gain back down to 9 o'clock. Let's get all of these EQ settings back to noon real quick. I'm trying to do this quickly because there's just so much to cover on this amp. Really, it just, no matter what I try to do with this amp, I can never balance it out between being too bright or muffled. That's about the best I think we've gotten it sounding so far. Let's get a little bit more mid on that, back the treble down just a tad. Not bad there, but again, there are some things that I personally think are missing from it. Let's pump that gain up even more for those of you who like to use excessive amounts of gain. All right, so again, not my favorite in the world. Let's go ahead and kick on that deadwell duality again. Let's bring back that gain a little bit. All right, so the red mode is definitely very over the top when it comes to the gain. Let's go ahead and switch over to this other channel here. Let's see what kind of tones we can get out of this thing real quick. All right, so we are on the OD2. This is the highest gain, most compression channel on the amplifier. We are starting off on the green mode. Again, that green mode kind of just doing that JCM 800 level of gain, but it just doesn't sound convincing to me. We're over on the red mode now. Very thin at that 9 o'clock setting. Let's go ahead and bump it right up to noon. Got a good amount of saturation there. A little bit quacky on the top end. Let's actually bring that treble back. Let's bring that bass up. I think that actually sounds really, really good. Let's go ahead and bump that gain up again. Definitely liking the OD2 much better for my personal use case scenario. Let's get a little bit more top end as we are pulling off that top end by adding gain. Got lots of mids there, but we also have a lot of gain and a lot of low end. Let's back that low end off. Let's get some resonance in there. Getting closer to a high gain tone that I would like, but let's back the gain off. Let's kick that deadwell duality in. And very, very bright, just as expected. Let's back that treble down. Let's back the mids down. Close, but this channel seems really thin unless you get that gain up to about noon. Not bad at all there. I'm actually digging that tone. Let's just, for the sake of it, switch over to the red channel. Let's turn that gain down, leave our settings as is, turn our boost off. Not bad as is. A little bit modern for the crunchy stuff, but it sounds good. Let's go ahead and keep turning that gain up because we are running out of time here. That actually sounds nice with no boost. It's very tight and punchy, but it is a little bit muffled. Let's get some presence on it. Very much reminds me of the Hatebreed guitar tone. They use TSL 100s. Definitely got that modern kind of angry low mid thing going on. Sounds pretty good to me. Again, not my ideal tone, but it definitely doesn't sound bad. All right, so let's kick on that boost one more time. Let's pull that gain back just a little bit. Let's pull the mids and highs down because we're about to get blasted. As you can tell, guys, it's just not really my thing. If you love the JVM, I've definitely heard people make them sound incredible. I can't seem to be able to do that. It's just one of those amps that I don't personally bond with when I play it. But overall, it's definitely a very modern, very high gain capable Marshall. It just seems to be missing some upper mid frequencies and some clarity that I would love to see from it. It just doesn't, to me, doesn't hold a candle to a lot of the modded Marshall tones, especially the boutique stuff that we're used to. I mean, my Splons are my number ones, and when you put this back to back with the Splon, this is definitely much more functional in a sense that you're gonna be able to get a lot more tones out of it, a lot more functionality out of it with a programmable foot switch and everything, but I'm going to take the tone and the sounds that I can dial in from the Splon 10 out of 10 times over what I can get out of the JVM. Again, that's just my personal preference. I'm not the guitarist that needs all the functions that are packed into this JVM, and I get the type of person that it is aimed at, but you know, from a tonal standpoint and from my personal opinion, it's just not something that I really get along with all that well. So finally, let's drop this thing down to D. All right, and let's go back over to the orange because I was really digging that. Let's see how this sounds. And let's try that SD1 again. Let's see if that bonds a little bit better. I actually feel like that accentuates the frequencies I don't like. Let's try the MXR M77. There we go. I like that. Let's get a little bit less high, a little bit less presence. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me today on the Marshall JVM410H. What do you guys think about this amp? Did you hate everything that I said? Because I know that a lot of people are probably going to be angry that I'm not the biggest fan of this amp in the world. That's fine. If you disagree, leave it down in the comments. Let me know how you set yours up. What guitar, what pickups, what boost, what cab and speakers you typically use to get the best sounds out of your JVM. I'm always curious to see what you guys think and if you're using them, how you're using them in your setting to get the best tones. So make sure to leave a comment and I'll meet you down there to chat about it. If you want to support the channel and what I do here, down in the description of this video are all of my affiliate links, including my Sweetwater affiliate link where you can purchase this amp through Sweetwater. If you like what you hear, I get a little kickback. It costs you nothing extra and it really helps me afford more gear to demo for you on my channel. Everybody wins! Or if you'd like, you could consider joining this list of very fine people and joining my Patreon community. That was a really poorly constructed everything. I am just failing at the end of this video here. But anyways, thank you so much to my patrons for supporting the channel. And if you want to add your name to this list and support the channel that way, I would love you forever, whether you want me to or not. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.